morning once again. I'm Sibi Sudhagran on behalf of IBPC. Welcome to the Business Breakfast Meet on IoT and cyber security. Today's breakfast session is all about safety and security. And the first session is more about how we can save, through our IT infrastructure. And the second one is about cyber security. To begin with our session, may I please welcome our president, Mr. Suresh Kumar, to please come forward and speak a few words. Thank you so much. A big round of applause, Mr. Suresh Kumar. Good.
I suggest keep the applause for the two experts that we're going to hear from. First of all, thank you all for joining us in this breakfast session. I'm going to be a beginner and a learner in terms of Internet of Things and cyber security. We all need it, but like insurance, we think if we have taken some level of protection, we're okay, but we'd like to hear today from both of you as to what exactly are the practical lessons that we need to gather from this exercise. I was told Mark was here right at 8 o'clock in the morning, so he is nice and early, unlike some of us. Personally, Internet of Things, blockchains, cryptocurrencies, artificial intelligence are all very nice buzzwords to have. And often we think we know what they are until, we hear from experts, and then it corrects our misimpressions, as it were. But it's an evolving landscape, as Mark would agree. There's so much catching up to do. Both our experts today have excellent credentials in terms of, was it GE and General Electric, where you made things happen, and we now need to see in your new initiatives how things are going to be progressing. And we welcome you to this IBPC breakfast event. Cybersecurity is one which, being in the financial sector, banking and financial sector, we take particularly seriously because these days much of banking, especially among the young population, young both in mind terms and in age terms, they take to internet banking in a big way, and internet banking, internet financial activities based on a number of firewalls that you put in place to make sure that they move smoothly, sometimes don't. And we have often found that ATMs run out of cash. Sometimes it's much more serious than that. Accounts are hacked. Data is not protected as well as we think they were. So I think it's an excellent context, an excellent time to be discussing these issues. So without further ado, I'll leave it to Sibi to take it forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Our first speaker today is Mr. Mark Pfeiffer. With over 3 decades of experience in the technology industry, in the past, Mark has worked with Motorola and GE. His expertise is in the area of software development, cloud platform, industry markets, and security sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Pfeiffer. He's the Vice President and General Manager of Facility Connects, for his presentation. Thank you so much. Welcome, Mark.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's actually night for me because I come from the United States, but can you hear me okay out there? Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about IoT in the sense of using the data effectively. And it's really important that people realize that the Internet of Things tends to be something that is really drawing attention around the world. Connecting equipment is the #1 piece of Internet of Things, but the real question becomes is what do you do with it? And what value you get out of bringing all this information up into a place like people call the cloud, right? And so we are driving to really go down to what the dollars are when you do something with an Internet of Things. So one question I have for the audience to think about as we walk through this presentation in the next 15 or so minutes, is really how much do you spend on your electrical cost. I mean, here in Dubai, you really could basically, you have to cool your areas. And the places that I've talked to with my friends in Intertech is really about the air conditioning, the quality of the air, and cooling that air effectively. And there's a lot of pieces of equipment involved in that. But 70% of that electrical cost is attributed to your HVAC. Okay, so you could think about the millions of dirhams that you guys spend in electrical cost month after month, and how much you can basically save by bringing that 70% number down. Okay, right now, that data is isolated in a control system sitting in your buildings, or maybe there's one control system doing several buildings, okay? When you start to bring that data up, you start to look at all the equipment that's contributing to that electrical cost. And this is not just one piece of equipment. Some people think, it's like a refrigerator, right? I'm just cooling the air. There is a lot of equipment. In a building like this, there's thousands of pieces of equipment that contribute to that. And that's what it takes to get cool. Now, if one of those pieces of equipment are not in tune, you basically start to give away money. That's what you guys are doing. You actually give away money because you're not optimized. And that's the important thing of driving costs down. What we see across the world is by using IoT, grabbing that data and letting analytics, let the experts basically look at that data. And when I say experts, these are machines, they're not people. Look at that data and tell you how to be more optimized. You can drive your costs down by over 15%. Some people have gotten 22%. Think about the amount of money you spend in electrical costs, day in, month by month, and you get 15% off the bottom line. That's what IoT promises. There's other benefits, by the way. If you can bring your equipment to run a little bit less, just a little bit. If I can bring my fans down by 10, 20%, that equipment longevity becomes longer and longer. An air handling unit that sits on the top of the roof of a building will last longer. Think about trying to replace that, what the cost is to replace that unit every 15 years. You don't have to. You can expand that and make that equipment much longer. The other benefit that you get out of this is visibility. Internet of Things brings the data to the people, okay? And that is really important. Today, most people have to go to a system to go and look at what's happening, right? You should be told what's happening. Not hanging out there and have to go and analyze the data yourself. The system does that for you. That drives labor costs and effectiveness of your people day in and day out. And that's important because people are busy. We're all busy, right? If you can gain 15% of your day, every day, what would you do? Me, I would go lay on the beach here in Dubai and get some time off. But that's not going to happen. But you can really drive your labor costs down by using the visibility that comes from an Internet of Things application. So when you think about Internet of Things, don't just think about it as a connection, think about it as analysis. That's what you want to do. You want to do effective analysis that drives cost down, okay? This is the simple value story just in the world of facilities. When you look at HVAC, you look at buildings all over the place, you're effectively looking at that type of curve. These are the stories that people tell. Operational efficiency, energy savings. Some people even tell about sustainability. I'm being greener because I'm bringing my electrical costs down, and I'm not contributing to the carbon footprint of the world, right? Some people actually believe in that story in the sense of that it adds value to my property or it adds value to, my tenants that might be inside that property. We all care about being greener every day. And mostly that's around being greener for the world, right? And that's the way that you have to think about these things. But lots of people have that sustainability message. But look at that curve. This is real data. This is what people effectively get out of Internet of Things in electrical savings over 3 years. Okay? One last point I'll make on this slide is this is year over year. Once you see the data and you start to understand the data and you let the system do the talking for you, you start to, year over year, save those numbers because it never comes back. You're watching it now, whereas effectively you couldn't before. And let me explain why. Okay? That yellow curve, that bumpy yellow curve up there, is what happens to equipment all around the world, not just here in Dubai, everywhere. Equipment gets optimized. It's called commissioning, if you're familiar with that term. And it gets optimized to a state where it's basically running at a peak performance. Over time, that piece of equipment starts to drift, right? People make changes. People effectively look at things a little differently. They tweak the design. It's wear and tear, simple wear and tear on the system. And you get that unoptimized yellow curve, okay? Lots of people locally do monitoring of that equipment. But those people have to know how to read that data. They have to know what to do about that data. You can spend hours looking at that data. Trust me, I have. The best thing is you bring that data to something that can basically analyze that data and tell you what's going on. That's the promise. That green area is the promise of the Internet of Things. And it's been proven. It's happening now, and it's been happening for several years now. Okay? So simply put, if you can get your equipment to talk to you, which is what Internet of Things does and what data does for you, if you analyze it correctly, you can start to save money. So think about what that means to you. That's what we tend to look at, and we have effectively have done this around the world. This is a typical curve. This is a typical return on investment curve that you can see. And you can see that starts off. No one starts off big. It's not like you go and you start saving millions, 10 millions of dirhams every day, right? You start to build out that over time. And you start to make those changes to your equipment. But this is year over year. It keeps accumulating and accumulating because you're not letting yourself get unoptimized anymore, okay? And that's the type of curve. Now, keep in mind, you have to fix things too, and that's that red line, the solid red line. But more importantly, you really want to basically grow that return on investment. Even if I kept that return on investment at a constant rate, you would basically see a 6 to 8 month return on investment on a data that's associated with like a facility type equipment. And here in Dubai, it's even better because of the cost of doing HVAC and the fact of how much air conditioning you have to do, okay? So I'll leave this open. I just wanted to give a kind of a brief example. I'll take any questions that anyone has. Oh, please.
Right. I'll just add on to what's been said to understand for us as laymen. So basically you heard what Internet of Things all around. So basically when we are talking about this data, which is there, this data comes through various sensors we put on the equipments. So that from these various sensors, you get a lot of data which gets collected. So in Dubai, at least most of the multi-storied buildings have a BMS system in place. Now with that BMS system, you get a lot of data getting collected, but then nobody is really able to interpret the data. So basically, Internet of Things is not just collecting the data, and if you don't able to analyze the data and bring that out, the analytical part, that's what you are showing those slides about, is the analysis. So unless you don't correlate and analyze and bring that whole data in place, the Internet of Things makes no sense. It's not going to give you any benefit. The benefit is when you get the data, you analyze the data, you bring the whole results out of the data to give you the cost benefit. At the end of the day, anything in IoT is supposed to give you a cost benefit. Any investment in that should have a return.
Tell me one thing. There are so many builders making new buildings in Dubai.
Right.
How much of this is being utilized by them, and really is it being put into action? Because the health of the people who are investing millions of dirhams in occupying these flats really need, some sort of comfort or confidence that whatever air they are breathing while sleeping, sitting, is really pure.
You want a pure, straight answer?
Yes.
It's not being used.
So then how do you make it happen?
So right now, today, all the builders are concerned with meeting the compliance. And the compliance is having a BMS system in the building. With the newer buildings, the BMS system is something required for a compliance part of it. Myself and Mark, we've been to quite a lot of buildings around in Dubai, and BMS is there. I'll tell you, 50% of the buildings, BMS is not even working. They are not even working. So they are not even monitoring. So they are there because they were required to get the occupation certificate, original things, etc. So they've been done, installed. But today, if you look at it, it's not working. Now, the remaining 50% of the buildings where it is still working, they don't know how to use it. So to run these systems and to run that, you need a good amount of expertise to analyze the data. So you have various alerts which come out from the system. So when there's an alert, they do a corrective action. So basically what is showed, the yellow curve, that's what it stays on. Though you've gone and invested into quite an expensive BMS system, but you're not really taking it to the green curve. You're still on the yellow curve. So that is where what they have done is they've been working with GE and so on together. They built a lot of algorithms. So when this data is there, you need to build a lot of algorithms to correlate. So when you correlate, then you can predict. When you can predict, you can prefix. When you prefix, that's when you lead to the green curve. And that's what our average, what we are doing right now, POCs with some of the buildings, we are seeing anything from 15% going up to 30% as an operational cost saving for the building. So that's what it is coming out from this one, on this one, right? So I just wanted to brief it up.
No, good. No, please. No, very good.
Hi, my name is Bhavan. I have a very layman question, so thank you for simplifying it. And I just thought of how it can be used at home, and I think you said AC, and I think of AC plus TV as well. So keeping the water aside, a lot of time what happens when you're watching TV and the phone rings, or let's say something comes up and you go to the bedroom and the kitchen, the TV is on. So that could be the only thing I could think of, that if the TV is off by that time, and the moment I come back, it's switch on. That could give me some saving, not maybe too much, but nothing else I could think of. So my first question is that first tell me how many things and how I can save the electricity by the IoT at home. That's one thing. Second, on the TV example, do we have any solution? If not, no problem.
Okay. I can't really speak to the TV concept, but I mean, there is a lot of sensor technology that has started to come out around occupancy, and most of that's been around room occupancy. If you've been to a lot of the facility type shows, especially in the office type environment, occupancy is a really big perspective. When this room is not occupied like it is right now, are you going to be feeding air conditioning or even keeping the lights on, right? And so lots of technology has started to look at those things and bring that level down. Saves a lot of money. We monitor universities where auditoriums are used periodically on a scheduled type basis, but we use occupancy sensors to basically shut the air conditioning down. We never shut it off because you always want to turn air in any place, but it does get reduced. In a very simple case, and it's in US dollars, that in the first 8 months of running that technology and that analytics and keeping the maintenance team alerted to those situations, it saved them over 130,000 in US dollars, okay? The second part of your question is at home. If the air conditioning, in most places, especially here in Dubai, you're fed chilled water from a district-type plant. And that chilled water is fed into your HVAC equipment, your air conditioning equipment. And effectively, we look at that data. And if you have leaks or coils, you might not notice a small leak. This technology tends to look at those type of leak type situations, which actually creates, you probably don't realize that your temperature is okay, but you might be still spending money, right? Because you're paying for at home, not the district cooling, but you're paying for your AC unit, which might be leaking. So there's a lot of conditions like that that can be done, especially that. And more importantly, the plant side, the district plant side, can be optimized more effectively to basically distribute the water better to the homes. And this technology is starting to look at those type of problems as well. Okay?
Hi, good morning, Mark. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I like the term, the equipment will start talking to you.
Thank you.
That's a good one. I'm from the industry, and I have two questions on this. So one is a technical one that, we have a BMS system, right? What would IoT do? Because BMS also analyzes or captures data and analyzes data and takes corrective action, yeah? Mm-hmm. What would IoT further do what BMS is not able to do? In terms of physicality, do we need to add some equipment onto the pumps and chillers, et cetera, et cetera? So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, I'm in the facility management industry, and if we have to strategize the next 5 to 10 years of a business model, what is IoT going to be doing to an industry like this, which we need to be prepared at this stage?
All right, great questions. So when you look at a BMS, technology like this is not going to replace your BMS system. Your local BMS system is there for control. That's the way to think about a BMS. It's a local control system. It does collect data. It does do very little analysis of the data. It usually just gives you the aspects of the current data that's coming in, okay? What IoT tends to look at is the prediction of things, whether it be back in last season and saying I'm coming into the new winter season, right? I'm coming in there. What was my problems back then, right? A BMS is about currency. IoT type solution is about looking ahead, getting you to look ahead, right? Second thing is BMS will never tell you what you can potentially save. It's usually going to tell you what your problem is right now. Lots of people run around like a chicken without a head, fixing problems and fixing problems. IoT and the analysis of that data allow you to prioritize that better and only fix the ones that really matter. Because some things are actually really small changes that don't really need to be done. It's not affecting the temperature. It's not saving you money. There's a lot of reasons. It's not going to help you preventive maintenance. But yet people go and fix it. To fix a small box in the office area, you have to spend 4 hours of labor. Get a ladder. Get up on the ladder, right? Get up there and fix it, right? A lot of times it's not even worth doing. So when you analyze the data from that perspective, it's really important. Secondly, most people, and I don't know if you're one of them, have multiple BMS systems from different vendors, right? IoT brings the data up and normalizes it for you. So now you only have to know about one system, right? Even though you have those other systems doing your control for you effectively. Yeah, so when you will have to introduce some more sensors, but most sensors that are there are available to get started now. It's enough there to start making effective change now. But over time, you might add more to be more effective or tie in all the other processes around it, right? Your water, your supply, your air quality. I think someone asked about air quality a little earlier. These analytics look at the turns of air tied to the humidity and temperature that is happening in this area as well. And those are not only cost savings, but comfort. You know, most people who leave an auditorium tired, it's because there's not enough air turns in that auditorium. I was at a university one time, and the energy manager was talking to me about air turns and how the kids came out of the lecture always looking tired. And he says he knows that place doesn't get enough outside air in there. That's why people are leaving tired. So there's different things you can do with other sensor technology. The other guy was asking about the occupancy aspects as well. Very important. BMSs never tie occupancy sensors in. They work on a schedule. They have no idea whether there's a person in that room or not. So those are different. You had a second question. What was the second question? Oh, yes, very good question. So what we see when it comes to facility management type companies, consultants and commissioning people out there, this is a new world for them. They're used to doing a lot of stuff manually on a scheduled maintenance or a preventative maintenance type schedule. They go and replace a filter every 3 months. This effectively is going to change the game at the way those facility management people think and do their job more effectively, right? Maybe the filter doesn't need to be replaced. You can get away with another month, right? Now, instead of going out there 4 times on a truck roll, you're going out there 3 times. This is the way it's going to change the world of facility management. Secondly, everything's coming back to you, right? You don't have to roll people out to go and do a measurement or take a temperature reading, right? You don't have to do that anymore. It's all right there at your desk. So now you can effectively start to look at things more from a labor perspective and the technology and the experts that you have on staff. The other piece is the business side. The business will change because now you can offer another service, right? People are going to look at you differently when you have high technology, basically high technology type products like this, and you're effectively doing your work better. You can actually have more clients to deal with. You can also offer this as an extended service to your clients because this is doing commissioning against and optimizing equipment at a much more effective rate. Okay? Does that make sense?
Ram Tolani from Goodwill Insurance Brokers. My perception to this slide is related to the business growth. I see the red line in between, continuous monitoring. 10 years ago, I had a brain stroke and I was paralyzed. And in a span of 1 year, we did not have continuous monitoring. Therefore, my successful company had collapsed. My son, who was at that time age 24, he took over the business and then he went on ongoing fault detection and diagnosis. And in a span of 10 years, he has started 14 new offices in 7 different countries in the world. So I am taking this slide as a red part that any business and every business should have a continuous monitoring and ongoing fault detection and diagnosis in their own business. This is my observation and
Thank you.
perception to the slide. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, everyone.
Now, may I request our next speaker, Mr. Raid Abudai, is the cloud security lead from Palo Alto Networks. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, you came before the introduction was complete. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Morning? Much better. I'm too hyper to stand behind the podium, so I apologize for walking away down here to the floor, but I feel probably it's closer to you guys. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I also want to thank our partners, Intertech, for giving me the chance to come and talk to you about cybersecurity. When I got a call to come and talk to you guys about cybersecurity, the Intertech guys told me to make it as simple as possible. Very high level, you guys are business people, you don't want to know what an exploit is. So, when I looked at my first slide, which is my title slide, and I started looking at my first name, my last name, and then my company name, I'm like, oh my God. It's complex, yeah? So my name is Raed, my last name is Abudaya, and the company I represent is Palo Alto Networks. How many of you heard of Palo Alto Networks? Okay, wow, that's good. Of course you must have heard of Palo Alto Networks. So Palo Alto Networks is the leader when it comes to securing enterprises. We are relatively a young company. We started in 2005. We shipped our first product in 2007. And today we are the largest enterprise security company in the world. But today we're not going to talk about Palo Alto Networks. Today we're going to talk about cybersecurity and what is it that you guys need to know to understand more about cybersecurity and what can you do to protect your business environment or even your home. Okay? All right, so we live in a digital era. We live in a connected era. Actually, I did one of the presentations almost a month ago, also for Intertech, and I had a slide on there that showed how many connected devices that are out there, how many devices that are connected to the internet that are out there, and it's like 27 billion. Does anybody know what is the population of the Earth? Close, 6.5. So imagine there are 6.5 humans and 27 billion devices connected to the internet. So you can tell that everything we do today is pretty much in one way or another is connected. You probably have an IoT device at home, like an air conditioner, or a washing machine, or a fridge. It could be a smart IoT device. Yeah? So it is really important for you guys to understand what does it take to secure your environment if your parameter is no longer the network or your laptop. It is now your air conditioner. It is now your phone. It's now your washing machine. So when you think of security, expand the think of security above and beyond the traditional thoughts of networks and laptops and PCs. It's a lot more now than what it was 20 years ago. Okay, does anybody recognize this company? Maersk. Maersk is the largest shipping company in the world. They are accountable for about 20% of the world's shipping capacity. They have about 90,000 employees. They have 76 ports that they manage, and they operate in 130 countries. On a beautiful summer day in Denmark, an IT administrator of Maersk was working on his machine when all of a sudden he got a message that said, your C drive is being repaired. Please hold on while we reboot your laptop. So the guy waited, laptop rebooted. Next thing he got was a red screen. His machine was locked. He could not use it anymore. He stood up, he looked around, and this is what he saw. It's not the actual picture of what he saw, but this is what Maersk environment looked like on June 27th, 2017. Every single employee's machine was turning like this, red. Maersk employees were running around, flight of stairs, trying to shut down machines that have not rebooted yet. Maersk was all over the news. 17 ports were completely shut down, including some of the world's largest ports. Every news forecast pretty much expected Maersk to take weeks to go back to normal operations. Maersk shut down operations of their 76 ports worldwide. The largest company, the largest shipping company in the world was dead in the water. So let's look at what it took these guys to fix the attack. So the malware or the malicious software that attacked Maersk was called NotPetya. And you can tell there's probably a malware called Pitya before that. And this was a variant of Pitya, and I think that the industry decided to give it was not Pitya, to differentiate it from Pitya. So not Pitya was a software that paralyzed Maersk. It took Maersk 1 week to basically go back to even a little bit of their operations, 2 weeks to reissue laptops to their employees, and almost 2 months to go back to normal. Now, the attackers didn't steal money. They were not after money. This was not somebody wanting to have you pay them a ransom to stop attacking you. This was meant to be a disruptive, destructive attack. The total costs of NotPetya was $10 billion. This is loss to business, disruption of business, and there wasn't a single dollar of that money that was paid as ransom. This is basically loss of revenues, what companies spent to fix NotPetya. $10 billion, and that is one cyber attack. So you can imagine the scale of what's happening out there. Yeah? So, to give you guys a perspective, the UAE gross domestic product is about 400 billion. Is that roughly accurate? Does anybody know who is the largest company in the world? Our friends from the US should know, because it's an American company. It's superstores. Walmart. Actually, Walmart is bigger than Amazon. If you look at it from a revenues perspective, Walmart is the largest company in the world, $500 billion. We're not talking about market cap, we're talking about annual revenues. Market cap, Apple. I think they are above trillion now, 1 trillion. If you look at the cyber crime costs, in 2017 alone, it was bigger than the UAE gross domestic product, it was bigger than Walmart. This is huge. This is happening everywhere. Okay, so who are the bad guys? Yeah, this is what everybody wants to know. Who's attacking us? And why was Maersk attacked? Here's an interesting fact. The attack that hit Maersk and paralyzed Maersk was not actually intending to go and attack Maersk. They were not the intended target. The intended target of that attack, of NotPetya, was Ukraine. Ukraine, the country of Ukraine. Somebody, Russians, tried to actually disrupt the Ukrainian life, pretty much. And they attacked a software that Ukrainians use to basically file their taxes. Ukraine has a software company, an accounting company that makes software called Midot. And that software company was attacked by the attackers. And on the next software update, every single user of that accounting software had the NotPetya virus. Unfortunately for Maersk, they had an office in Ukraine. And the office in Ukraine had that software on it. So when they installed the software, so they were collateral damage for NotPetya, and that collateral damage cost them almost $400 million. Okay, so the most common culprits are thieves. These are guys who are actually after your money. 90% of the attacks out there are actually driven by a financial motive. Somebody wants to actually get money out of you or your company. This is the most common type of attackers. Nations. Similar to what happened in Ukraine, these guys are not after your money. Political reasons, espionage, whatever the case might be, nations are going after it every single second. Somebody's attacking somebody. Hacktivists. And these guys, they hack for ideologies. They hack for what they think is right, what they think is wrong. If you agree with them, you're a good guy. You disagree, they could hack you. And the fourth and the most scary part for us in the cybersecurity industry are those guys. Now, luckily, they are not yet sophisticated enough to do serious damage, but these are the guys that we worry about. These are not after money. They're not after stealing information from a country. These guys are after serious harm. They want to kill people. Okay. So, it's not all gloom and doom. So what can you do? Well, the first thing is if you run a business, you gotta protect your parameter. And in the old days, your parameter was your network or your laptops. But now it's above and beyond that, right? So you still have to protect your network with firewall, and you still have to protect your endpoints with antivirus or next generation endpoint protection, but you also have to protect your cloud environments. How many people in this room use Office 365? So Office 365 is cloud. So we're very good at installing a firewall to protect the network or installing an AV to protect our laptop, but how many of us think of installing something to protect our Office 365 environment? I am one of you guys. I did not actually have anything protecting my Office 365 environment. But your parameter is no longer just your network. It is now every single thing you use to run your business. And if you're using Office 365, you better think of ways to protect your Office 365 environment. Yeah? At home, lock the doors. Seriously, when we go home, we lock the doors, we lock the windows, we make sure no thief can actually get into the house. But we leave our Wi-Fi on, we leave our smart devices. By the way, a smart device is a hackable device. When you hear the word smart, for you it's smart. For the hackers, it's hackable. So if you have a Wi-Fi router, if you have a smart TV, if your business running an IOT air conditioning system, it's an IoT device that can be hacked. So you gotta find a way to protect those. And the first thing you gotta do is get an IoT security router. Unless you figure a way to install antivirus on your smart air conditioning or air conditioner, get an IoT security router. It will take care of security of your IoT devices. Don't leave those devices unprotected because hackers can easily hack your business through them. Please do not use simple passwords. Does anybody know when Facebook was attacked? Who has a Facebook account? I do. Okay, when Facebook was hacked, does anybody know what was the password of the CEO of Facebook? Wild guess. It wasn't password. Anybody wants to guess what was the password of Mark Zuckerberg? Sorry? It was da. Seriously. It was that complex. So please, don't use your daughter name, don't use your birthday. Try to make it a little bit difficult for the hackers to guess. And finally, if I ask you to do one thing, whether at your business or at home, to protect your environment, use multi-factor authentication. If you're accessing your bank online, make sure you enable multi-factor authentication. If you are to walk away from this session with one thing, please enable this and everything that you have, if you can. This will make it extremely hard for anybody to go and hack either your business or your home. Okay? That's it for me. Any questions? Yes, please. What about Google Cloud? Okay, so there are two kinds of cloud that you should protect. One is what we call SaaS, which is software as a service. Software as a service is Office 365. That's a perfect example of SaaS. And then you have the public cloud providers like Amazon, like Microsoft Azure, like Google Cloud. To protect a SaaS, you need a SaaS security solution, typically referred to in the industry as CASB, a cloud access security broker. Yeah? To protect the public cloud, it's a little bit different. It involves more things than just, yes.
Even in the Google Cloud,
Yeah.
you can buy a domain and then it works on that as well, Drive and all,
Yeah.
for the company itself.
So without getting too technical, to protect the public cloud, you need three things. You need, first of all, a firewall, just like you need it on-prem. You need an antivirus to protect your hosts inside the Google Cloud. And finally, you need something that understands API language. API language is the standard language used between applications. Everybody in this room probably speaks, if I look around the room, probably 4 or 5 languages, minimum, right? But we all speak English. And the common language we use to communicate with each other is English. API is the language that applications use in the cloud to talk to each other. So you need a security solution that understands API to protect that environment. So you need three things: firewall, antivirus, API solution to protect an API environment. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of us use free Wi-Fi when we're out in public, like Starbucks and stuff like this.
Yep.
So how bad is that or good is that? Security.
That's a very good question. It's really bad. Actually, and this is something you guys can Google. In the UK, they wanted to see how many people look at the terms and conditions of the free Wi-Fi. So they had only one term and condition for using their Wi-Fi, which is if you use this Wi-Fi, we will take your money, your children, your house away from you. And by clicking I agree, we'll do that. And everybody clicked on agree and got Wi-Fi access. True story. Yeah. Very few people go and read. So for me, I am very cautious of using a public Wi-Fi. I would use it only because it can be easily hacked. And if somebody accesses that router and you go access that hacked router, they could have access to your mobile phone or your laptop. They can use that hacked router to hack you. Also, you don't know who's spying on you. You're connected to somebody else's network, right? They could be collecting information about you. They could actually be monitoring your traffic. What do you do? In the last US elections, Facebook sold private information of their users to groups that use that information to go and have voters vote for specific candidates. Now, it didn't really tip the balance, but that's an example of where you need to protect your privacy. I think earlier today somebody was telling me, I don't care if my data was lost. True, you could have backup. But think of your business disruption while you're waiting for your backup to be online again. And two, what if you have private information that you don't want the public to see? So when you think of cybersecurity, you're trying to protect your privacy, you're trying to protect your business, you're trying to protect your business continuity, your revenues. It's not just about paying a ransom. There is a very well-documented case of a bank that hackers got into the bank, did not steal money, they stole the transactions of their users, and then called the bank and say, hey, we have the transactions of every single user with you guys, and we want $3 million. And the bank said, yeah, right, whatever. Next thing you know, 500 of the top customers of that bank were on the web. And then probably the bank paid them. So imagine you are a client of that bank, and your private transactions are on the web for everybody to see. Would you bank with that bank again? So reputation is also a big thing for you when you are running a business. Okay? Anything else? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raid. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Raid. Thank you, Mark. Both of you for your time. Now may I request Mr. Suresh Kumar, sir, to please come forward and give away the... All right. So, can I call upon Mohammed Sutawala, sir, who is also co-convener of our IT focus group, to please come forward. And if I may request Mark, please come forward for the small moment of presentation. A big round of applause for Mark. Thank you so much for your time. And if I can ask the gentleman in beige, Bhuvan. Mr. Bhuvan, please come forward. And if I can request Mr. Raid to come forward, Mr. Bhuvan to present a memento to Mr. Raid. Raid. Thank you so much for your time. Palo Alto. Thank you so much, all of you, for your time. Our next event would be 25th evening. We'll be having a networking dinner event. Thank you so much. We'll send across the invite soon. Thank you so much, for all of you, for your time. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
you.